A man who has everything he could possibly want, but still isn't happy. A man who receives constant praise from others for his intelligence, kindness, and sincerity, but who suspects that everyone is just deceiving him. And a man who is constantly taken advantage of by those around him because he is too pure to understand anyone else's evil intentions. This is the story of one of history's greatest underdogs. This is the story of Prince Myshkin from The Idiot by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And Myshkin may very well be the most tragic character in all of world literature. Let's begin. Prince Myshkin is an epileptic, an outcast. He returns to St. Petersburg after spending years in Switzerland for his health, only to find out that he's actually inherited a huge fortune and is now one of the richest men in Russia. Immediately upon his return, he meets three very important people in his life: Nastasia, Philip, and Rogozhin. Each of these three characters will use and abuse Myshkin in their own ways, and none of them will ever understand his true nature. But we will see how each of them treat him and why this happens. First, let's meet Nastasia. Nastasia is an 18-year-old woman who Myshkin believes to be his fiancée. However, she is actually a sex slave who was bought by a rich man named Totsky when she was just 12 years old. Years later, she had a brief fling with another guy named Ganya, and then she became pregnant. When Totsky found out about the pregnancy, he brought her to a doctor and secretly aborted her child without telling anyone, including himself, what happened. So she starts flirting with him and eventually sleeps with him. But even as they are together, she is still trying to manipulate and control him. She demands that he gives her complete control over her life and that he never lets go of her hand. And when he doesn't understand what she wants or tries to do something else, she punishes him. For example, when Myshkin goes to visit a poor family and buy some bread for them, Nastasia gets insanely jealous. She accuses him of being ungrateful and selfish and says that he would have been better off letting them starve. This kind of behavior drives Myshkin crazy, and he can't understand why she would do such things. Now, let's talk about Philip. Philip is Myshkin's close friend and intellectual advisor. He's a former student of the gymnasium, where Myshkin used to study before going abroad. And Philip has always admired Myshkin for his intelligence and purity. In fact, he loves Myshkin so much that he becomes his personal secretary and takes care of all his financial matters. Now, this may sound very loyal and nice, but it's actually a very cunning move by Philip. You see, he knows that Myshkin is rich and he wants to take advantage of him. So instead of actually doing any work, he spends most of his time manipulating Myshkin into giving him more money, lying to him, and making excuses for why he can't do anything. Again, this kind of behavior infuriates Myshkin, and he can't understand why Philip would do such things. Finally, let's talk about Rogozhin. Rogozhin is the son of a wealthy merchant. His father gave him a large amount of money to manage, and Rogozhin soon lost all of it in bad investments. Because of this, he now lives in poverty and works as a clerk in his father's office. One day, Rogozhin hears that Myshkin is looking for someone to work as a secretary and thinks that this could be his chance to get back on his feet. So he applies for the job, and Myshkin hires him. However, just like with Philip, Rogozhin spends most of his time doing nothing, and instead uses Myshkin's money for gambling and other pleasures. He also lies to Myshkin and cheats him in other ways. And again, Myshkin can't understand why someone would treat him so badly. So, you might be wondering, why do all these people treat Myshkin this way? Why do they lie to him, cheat him, and abuse him if he's obviously a good person? Well, here's the thing. All these people think that Myshkin is stupid. They think that he's weak, naive, and can't handle the complexities of adult life. So, they think it's okay to treat him however they want. What they don't know is that Myshkin is actually one of the smartest characters in the whole book. He's incredibly insightful and has a deep understanding of human nature. However, he chooses to hide this from most people because he doesn't want to cause conflict or upset anyone. Instead, he prefers to live in harmony with everyone around him, even if it means that he has to suffer. And this is what makes Myshkin such a tragic figure. He is constantly taken advantage of by those around him simply because he is too pure to understand their evil intentions. He is a victim of circumstance who is trapped in a world that he doesn't understand. And because of this, he is doomed to suffer for the rest of his life. Throughout the novel, Myshkin is tormented by visions of hell and the Antichrist. He believes that the world is controlled by evil forces and that he is destined to be punished for his sins. He also has strange seizures that make him behave erratically and say disturbing things. These seizures are often triggered by stress or pain, and they can last for hours or even days. During these episodes, Myshkin is completely out of control and can't function like a normal person. This makes him even more of an outcast and further isolates him from society. Despite all this, Myshkin remains a deeply religious and spiritual person. He believes in the power of love and redemption and tries to help everyone around him, even his abusers. For example, when Nastasia threatens to leave him and go with another man, Myshkin doesn't try to stop her. Instead, he tells her to do whatever she wants and says that he will always love her. He also forgives her for all the pain she has caused him and wishes her happiness. Similarly, when Rogozhin tries to trick Myshkin into giving him money, Myshkin doesn't confront him. Instead, he gives him everything he wants and then asks him to pray for him. Again, he shows no anger or resentment towards Rogozhin and simply wants him to find peace. However, there is one character in the book who does try to help Myshkin, and that is a woman named Sonia Marmeladova. Sonia is a prostitute who works to support her family. She is incredibly virtuous and innocent, and she is one of the few people in the book who can see through Myshkin's disguise of weakness. She understands his strength and intelligence, and she admires his purity and faith. Sonia becomes Myshkin's confidant and offers him comfort and support when he is struggling. She is the only person in the book who truly understands Myshkin, and she is the only person who can call herself his friend. In the end, however, Sonia is unable to save Myshkin from his fate. He is ultimately driven to murder and ends up taking his own life. As I said at the beginning of this video, Myshkin may very well be the most tragic character in all of world literature. He is a man who has everything he could possibly want, but still isn't happy. He is a man who receives constant praise from others for his intelligence, kindness, and sincerity, but who suspects that everyone is just deceiving him. And he is a man who is constantly taken advantage of by those around him because he is too pure to understand anyone else's evil intentions. But what makes Myshkin's story even more tragic is that he is based on a real person. Dostoevsky knew a man who was very similar to Myshkin, and he based the character on him. Like Myshkin, Dostoevsky's friend was incredibly intelligent and pure, but he was also very naive and innocent. He didn't understand the ways of the world, and he was constantly being exploited by those around him. Like Myshkin, Dostoevsky's friend was also persecuted by society. He was an outcast who didn't fit in, and he was often ridiculed and mocked by the people around him. In the end, Dostoevsky's friend took his own life, just like Myshkin. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment below and subscribe for more content. Thank you.